In this lesson, we're going to take a look at how to solve some tougher proportions. So for example, if you take a look at this first problem, in the numerator at the top here, we do not just have a number. Instead, we have an expression, negative x plus 3. So to solve the proportion, we're going to use the same process we used before of doing the cross products, because we know that in proportions, the cross products are equal to each other. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that expression, negative x plus 3, and we're going to multiply the whole thing by negative 2. And it is important that you put that in parentheses. And then we're going to set that equal to the other two numbers multiplied by each other, 2 times 4, which is 8. So now we have this equation to solve. So normally when we have that number in front of the parentheses, or that number outside the parentheses, we're kind of used to seeing it in the front. So I'm actually going to rewrite it so that it's in the front, because the order really doesn't matter. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to distribute, just like when we would solve any equation. So we're going to take that number in the front of the parentheses, and we're going to multiply it by each term in the parentheses. So negative 2 times negative x is positive 2x. And then we're going to do negative 2 times 3, which is negative 6, equals 8. And now we're going to proceed to solve from here. So we need to get our x alone, so we have to get rid of the 2 and the negative 6. The negative 6 is furthest away, so we're going to get rid of that first by adding 6 to both sides. So those cancel, and we get 2x equals, and 8 plus 6 is 14. And then for the final step, we are going to undo the multiplication in here by dividing both sides by 2. So these cancel, and we get x equals 14 divided by 2 is 7. So the solution is x equals 7. So we were able to figure out what x is by doing the cross products. Another example. So again, this is a tougher proportion because we don't just have numbers, we have expressions in some of the places in each of our fractions. So again, we're going to solve this by doing the cross products, because in a proportion, the cross products are equal. So we're going to do 2 times x plus 3, and notice how I put that expression in parentheses, equals, and now we're going to do 5 times, and again we have the expression x minus 3, and again notice how I put that in parentheses. Okay, so now we're going to solve just like we typically would solve an equation. So we're going to start by taking that number in front of the parentheses and doing the distributive property. So we get 2x plus 6 equals 5x minus 15. All right, so now in this problem we have variables on both sides, and if you think back to when we were solving lots of equations, when we have variables on both sides, we like to eliminate the one that has the smallest coefficient. It just makes the problem a little bit easier. So I'm going to eliminate the 2x because that coefficient is smaller than the 5x by subtracting 2x from both sides. So on this side I just have 6. On this side 5x minus 2x is 3x, and then minus 15. Okay, so now we need to get our x alone, so we need to get rid of the 3 and the negative 15. We get rid of what's furthest away first, so I'm going to get rid of the minus 15 by adding 15 to both sides. So I get 21 equals 3x. And then the last step then would be to undo this multiplication by dividing both sides by 3. So we get x equals 7. And that is our solution. So again, we were able to figure out what each of these x's are equal to by doing the cross products. All right, let's look at one more example. So again, we have a proportion, two fractions that are equal to each other, so we can solve it by doing the cross products. So I'm going to multiply negative 3 times, and I'm going to put this expression in parentheses, 3x minus 3 equals, and then I have negative 2 times, and now I'm going to put x plus 6 in parentheses. So whenever you have those expressions, you do have to put them in parentheses. All right, so now we're going to solve, and we're going to start by doing the distributive property. So the number outside the parentheses we're going to multiply by each term in the parentheses. So negative 3 times 3x is negative 9x, and negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9, equals, and then this expression, or this number in the front, negative 2 times x is negative 2x, and negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. All right, so again, similar to the last problem, we have variables on both sides. So we're going to eliminate the smallest variable. So on a number line, negative 9 is further to the left than negative 2. So that's the smaller coefficient. So I'm going to get rid of the negative 9x by adding 9x to both sides. So those cancel, and on this side I get 9 equals. These signs are different, so I'm going to subtract, and I have 9 minus 2 gives me 7x, and I have more positive, so it's positive 7x, and then minus 12. All right, so now I'm going to get x alone, and so I need to get rid of the 7 and the negative 12. Since negative 12 is further away, I'm going to undo that first by adding 12 to both sides. So I get 21 equals 7x. And then finally, I'm going to undo this multiplication here by dividing both sides by 7. So x equals 3. So we were able to figure out what each of these x's are equal to by doing the cross products. So those are some examples of tough proportions.